Our next project in Photopea is the Great Pumpkin Challenge. We are going to take an image of a pumpkin and turn it into a jack-o'-lantern just in time for Halloween. To start our Great Pumpkin Challenge project in Photopea, the first thing we need to do is find an image of a pumpkin we like. So I'm going to start at Google, and I'm just going to search for pumpkin and choose images. Now I want to narrow it down because there's a lot on here. I want to let Google help me narrow things down. So I'm going to click on the transparent button so that it's only going to show me things that have a transparent background. Now I want to make sure that I'm looking for a real pumpkin. So none of these will work because they're all cartoons. So I could use this one, I could use this one. Those actually look pretty much the same. This is a great one to use. So I'm going to keep going through until I find one that I really like. I'm going to do this one, I think. And I'm going to copy it, go back to Photopea, or go to Photopea, create a new project, but instead of letting Photopea base the size on the image that I copied, I'm going to change my title to Great Pumpkin. And I'm going to choose screen as my sizes. And I'm going to choose full HD. So 1920 by 1080. Okay. And then I'm going to create. So it's going to create a much larger size than I actually need. Use Control V or Edit Paste to paste your picture in there. Now my pumpkin is really, really small. I need my pumpkin bigger. So by now we should be very, very used to using the Resize tool, which we find under Edit, Free Transform, and then when we get the tool marks, making sure that we hold the Shift key down to resize. All of that we should be really used to doing that. So I'm going to make it a pretty good size. I don't want it to fill my whole height, but I want it to be pretty big. I'm going to move it around a little bit until I find a good spot and click OK. And click my check mark. Now I have a pumpkin. You want to make sure you turn off the background just in case, because if accidentally the image that you chose did have a white background and wasn't transparent, you want to turn that background off and make sure that it truly was a transparent image. Okay, so now I have my pumpkin and I have a white background. Now I don't want my background to be white. I want it to be black. So I'm going to click on it. I'm going to come over here to my colors. I have no idea why these are pink, but I'm going to go ahead and click on this D. I also could have clicked on D on my keyboard, and then it would have chosen and made my foreground color black and my background color white. I'm going to come up here to the color gradient tool and choose the paint bucket tool. Again, we're really, really used to doing this. You want to make sure that you are not on layer 1. So see, when I click on layer 1 and I drop it, I end up with this really weird edge around it. And I don't want that. Okay, so I have to make sure I'm clicked on my background. Then when I paint it, I don't get that funny, weird edge. So you want to make sure that you're on your background layer before you drop the paint bucket. After I have filled in the background, making sure I used the background layer with black, go ahead and click on layer 1 again to make it the active layer. And I'm going to choose effects down here at the bottom. It says EFF. When you hover over it, it says layer style. I'm going to start with the inner glow. We're going to be using a few of them, but we're going to start with inner glow. Okay, so this will bring up the layer style menu. Working our way through this, we want to change our blend mode to linear burn. We want our opacity to be about 15. And we want to make sure that this color right here is black. No, it's not, so I'm going to have to change it. I'm going to pick on the color picker, choose black, and click OK. I want my technique to stay softer, my spread to stay 0, but I want my size to be around 50. My contour stays the same, my range stays the same, my jitter stays the same, and I click OK. Now you'll notice that if I toggle back in my history, it's really, really subtle. But if I toggle back to when I just dumped my black and toggle back to my layer style, you can see how the edge of this pumpkin gets a little bit darker. Just a little bit. So that sort of gives you a 3D effect on the image. Kind of makes the pumpkin seem like it's round. Now it's time to make the cutouts of our jack-o'-lantern. And I'm going to want to zoom in because this is really small and I want to be able to see it a little clearer. So I'm going to click on Nav for the navigator. And I'm going to move this slider bigger. Now I kind of want 12's okay, and 12 might work on your computer. This is going to depend on your screen. Given that you're using Chromebooks, 12 might fill your screen. But for me, I'm going to go to 13 because now the pumpkin is filling the entire screen. Okay, I'm going to click Navigator Away to make that go away so I have all the real estate that I need. So we're now going to use a tool we haven't used before, and it can be a little challenging, a little persnickety. It's called the Pen tool, and it's located over here underneath the text tool. When you hover over it, it says Pen. Okay, so we're going to click it. We're going to make sure this says Shape. It might be a default of Path, so we're going to change that to Shape. Change the fill color to black. Okay, and that's all you need to do for that. Hit Escape to make that fill menu go away. Then you're going to want to decide where the top point of your eye is going to be. And you're going to click once for that point. Decide where you want the bottom part of your triangle to be. Click again. Come over here to the other side and click again. You'll notice that it has made a triangle. So if I click Escape, I now have a triangle. So it's done drawing my triangle. I can click somewhere else I want. Oops, now it's going to start drawing something new and I don't want to do that. But it's not going to continue with this triangle. So now I need to make another triangle. I'm going to click on my pen tool. I want it to be over here, so I'm going to start clicking here. Maybe run around here and here. Hit Escape on my keyboard, and that completes that shape. So now I have my 2 eyes. Now I need to draw a nose. So I'm going to draw my nose here. And hit Escape. The mouth can be the mouth is the challenging part. There's no doubt about it. If you want to make a straight, easy, everything we've done so far have all been straight, easy shapes. But the mouth of a jack-o'-lantern generally doesn't go that way. So if I decide that I want to make a smile and I click here and here, well, that's just a line. That doesn't give me the smile part of it. Okay, so what I need to do is I need to make lots of little clicks around the shape that I want to do. Okay, so I'm going to sort of just click around. It's going to be really, really rough, just like it would be if I was doing it with a knife. This will give me the bottom part of my triangle. I'm sorry, of my mouth shape. Okay. Now I want to start coming in here and doing the teeth. So I want a tooth to go down here, and then up, and then down, and then up, and then down, up, down, up. Oh, that's pretty good. Okay, I'm going to click Escape. And now I've got a jack-o'-lantern mouth. Now if I don't like that one and I want to do it again, I can just click Shape 5 over here because that's the jack-o'-lantern mouth that I just did. Yours will probably only be 4. And hit Delete, and it can go away and I can try it again. But I'm kind of happy with that. I don't think I could have done a better job if I had been using a knife. So I'm going to keep that one. Now we need to add the effects that are going to cause the inside of the pumpkin to glow. as if it has a candle in it or a light in it or some sort. So I'm going to choose a shape. I've chosen my nose. You can see that there's little blue dots tell me which shape I've chosen. That's my nose. That's my right eye. That's my left eye. That's my mouth. So I'm going to start with the nose. I'm going to click on the Effects button again to bring up my layer style. And I'm going to choose Inner Shadow. It's going to bring up my layer style. And I'm going to choose Linear Burn. Linear Burn again, but I don't want it to be black this time. I want it to be orange. So I'm going to click OK. I'm going to change this hex code to E15F03. Okay, that's kind of an orange color. So when I click Tab, you can see it's this orange color. I'm going to click OK. So now I have the orange color here. Then I want to make my opacity 100%. My angle 150. I'm sorry, negative 150. So instead the distance to, whoops, too high. That's too big of a slider on this. The spread to 0 and the size to 5. Now I want to click on Outer Glow. So I'm not going to close this. I'm not going to click OK yet. I'm going to click Outer Glow over here. I'm going to actually click on the words because otherwise it doesn't change the information for the outer glow details. I want it to be Color Dodge. Color Dodge. My opacity should be 25%. The gradient should be white. Now remember, if you don't have white on here, you can move your color picker all the way up into the corner, or you can change your hex code to FFF, and that's white. Okay, my technique stays as softer. The spread stays at 0. The size we changed to 15. And the range and the jitter stays the same. Now we're going to change the inner glow. So we're going to click on Inner Glow. Change the blend mode on this one to normal. Change the opacity to 100%. We're going to change this color to a bright yellow. And I think I'm just going to use the yellow that's right here, because that's pretty bright. So that needs to be a yellow, and you can kind of see this is what it's doing to that shape, even though we can't see it yet. Softer edge, everything else stays the same on that layer style. So now we've done 3 layer styles. Okay, so we're gonna kind of take a peek at it and see what it looks like so far. So far, ooh, that's a bright yellow. That might be too bright of a yellow, but I'm gonna go with it for now. We'll see what happens next. So now we're going to do the gradient overlay with this. So we're going to click on this EFF, double click on it to bring up the layer styles again. And we're going to choose gradient overlay. Okay, so for this one, the blend mode stays normal. The opacity stays 100%. The style goes to radial. Scale should be around 100%. Angle should be around 160. Then we need to change the color of it. So to do that, we're going to click on the color bar part where it says gradient right here. We're going to click on that. It's going to bring up a gradient editor. We're going to click on the bottom square on the left, and it gives you a whole color picker down here. And we're going to change that color. So we need to open that color picker and change it to white. Okay, so we want the one over here to be white. We're going to click on the other side and change it to a bright yellow. So I'm going to click on this one. And oops, come back here. Click on this one, change it to a bright yellow. I'm going to use the same yellow I used before. And click OK. So now we have a gradient of white to yellow. And you can see that it goes a little bit from white to yellow on the screen. Okay. All right, I'm going to go ahead and click keep your smooth, make sure smoothness stays at 100. I didn't change anything else, just these two colors. I'm going to click OK. And now I'm going to take another look at my pumpkin. And now I have a yellow glowing pumpkin. If I click on another shape or click somewhere else on the screen, I want to do that. You can see it's got an edge to it right here for the thickness of the pumpkin, and then it's glowing inside like it would if there was a candle in there. Okay, so we're going to do one last thing in our layer styles. So I'm going to double click this again. It'll bring up my layer style. And I'm going to choose stroke. Again, remember you have to click on the word. Don't just check the box because you don't get the choices if you just check the box. And I'm going to change my size to 1. My size to 1. So I might change that. I'll have to see how it looks when I'm done. My position is outside. My blend mode is overlay. My opacity is 0. So I don't want it 100, I want it all the way to 0. And the color should be black. Okay, so we're going to change the color here. I don't want it to be red. I'm going to change it to black. Click OK. All right. Now when I go look at my nose, might not be able to see the difference. Sometimes if you go in your history and kind of click back and forth, you can see that all it did was just give a real faint edge. It makes that pumpkin part look thicker. So I might actually go in there and make my stroke, I might try 2 and see how that looks. So play around with it. See how you like it. Because so now you can see the difference between that was 1 stroke, that was no stroke, 1 stroke, 2 stroke. It just makes my pumpkin itself look a little thicker, which a pumpkin is. Pumpkins have thick sides. Now that I have my nose the way I want it, I need to copy that layer style and paste it to all of my other shape layers. So I'm going to right click on my nose layer style, and I'm going to choose layer style, copy. And then I'm going to right click on the mouth and go to layer style, paste. And the eye, layer style, paste, and right click on the other eye, layer style, paste. And now I have all of those shapes with that layer style applied. So now you can see I've got all of my layers glowing. They all look similar. They all have the same layer style. So I need to put some text on this image. So I'm going to go to the navigator and make it zoom out a little bit because I can't see the whole, I'll be able to see the whole canvas. I'm going to click on the text tool, and I want to make sure that this color right here in this box is going to stand out. So if it's black, it's not going to stand out. So I'm going to change it to the same yellow I used. Now, if you use the default yellow, it'll still be listed here. If you came up with your own yellow, it should still be here as well. I'm going to change it to yellow. I already found a font that I liked. I'm going to try this one. And I'm going to go ahead and with the text tool, type something Halloween-y, which did not, there we go. And I spelled it wrong. Okay, now I can't see that because it's too small. So I'm going to zoom in, but I know I can tell that I spelled happy wrong. And I'm going to click in here, change the letter. I like this capital A. Okay, be lowercase. Okay, and then zoom it back out again so I can see the whole thing. Now I know that I want to make this bigger. I know I want to make this font bigger, but we know how to do that. We've done that a million times. You go to Edit, Free Transform, and this time I'm not necessarily going to hold down the Shift key because I don't care if it warps my letters a little bit. In fact, I kind of like it when it does that. Okay, so I'm going to make it taller so it fits that little space there, make it wider so it fits this space here. Again, if you like this font, it was called Destroy. Click my OK button to see if I like it. I kind of want to move it around a little bit. That's not exactly where I want it. That's a little better. Okay. Okay, now that I have my text and my pumpkin, if I were putting this pumpkin out on the porch and it was dark and the candles were lit inside, the pumpkin would glow and it would cast a shadow, a light onto the ground underneath it. So I need to create that light. I'm going to turn off my text because I'm going to be putting it right where my text happens to be. And I'm going to click on my background to make sure my background is my active layer. Then I want to create a new layer. So I'm going to go to Layer, New Layer. And that will create my new layer right above my background because that's where I want it. If I have it up here, it's going to cover over my pumpkin. And I don't want it covering over my pumpkin. I'm going to choose a soft brush. So I'm going to change that to bright yellow. The bright yellow color, not white. And I need to change my brush, some of my brush details. So I want my size to be pretty big. I think around 200 is pretty good. I'll change that once I get there. But I want to make sure that my hardness is set to 0. Now, what do I mean when I say hardness? So let me show you. I'm going to make this smaller because it'll fit a little bit better with the space I'm trying to show it in. So I have a brush that's size is 80 pixels and it's a hardness of 100. When I go over here and draw it, it is a solid, hard-edged line. Compare that to if I change the hardness all the way to 0 and I draw the same line, then it has soft edges and it makes it look like it glows a little bit. Okay? So I'm going to undo those two things because I want to use a soft brush. So I'm going to make my brush bigger, probably around 200, maybe a little bigger. Make sure my hardness is all the way to 0. And I want to change this opacity right here down to 10. I want it to be at 10%. Oops, so 10 is really hard to get. I'm going to type it in. Then I'm going to come over here to my pumpkin, and I'm just going to put a little bit of a glow down here. Not too much, okay, because we don't want it to be hard. We don't want it to be really, really bright. Now, I did go over it a second time a little bit closer so that it was a little brighter right close to the pumpkin. And when I turn my Halloween back on, you can still see the glow through it, but it's not underneath my glow. And that, my friends, is how you create a pumpkin for Halloween. Don't forget when you're turning it in to make sure you're turning it in as a PSD file so that your teacher has the ability to go in and look at some of the details and look at some, especially on the layer styles, to make sure that you've done everything correctly.